Today we're going to show you how to get a turkey in and out of the oven in 2 hours.
A big, gorgeous bronze turkey looks terrific on the Thanksgiving table, but it comes with a host of problems though, right? It takes up half your fridge. It then hijacks your oven, right? It takes like 5 or 6 hours. So we've come up with a better, simpler plan, and that's to spatchcock the turkey. What that does is it takes a 3-dimensional amorphous blob like this turkey and renders it into a 2-dimensional plane that's gonna cook evenly with no fuss. Turkeys have what's called a Pope's nose there. We're gonna cut that off. It's just a little bit of fat, and we're gonna put that in our stock. Before I spatchcock, I tend to dry the meat well, so it provides good grip. You don't want this thing sliding around while you're trying to cut it. And I tend to start at the cavity end because you can see where the backbone comes out. It gives you clear visuals. And then we're just gonna snip as close as possible to the backbone. Then I'm gonna cut the second side. It's much easier to cut the second side. I'm keeping my fingers a little distant so I don't accidentally snip those. Thanksgiving should not start with a trip to the emergency room. I've had it happen in my life and I can't recommend it. And there is the backbone that we just cut out. As you can see, there's very, very little meat left on there. You're gonna save this. It really is gonna be the base for your stock. It takes a little force to flatten it out, but I do sort of pull it out with one hand and push down with the heel of my other hand. You do wanna hear the wishbone crack. Hopefully you got some good luck there, because that's what holds the breasts apart. And at this point, we have now a turkey that is effectively a flat plane. Now what we're gonna do is dry brine the turkey. Dry brining is every bit as effective as a wet brine. It also produces crisper, more golden skin. We're gonna sprinkle the inside of the cavity with 2 teaspoons of kosher salt, and rub it in, and just make sure it's really thoroughly coated. We're gonna flip it back over, and we're gonna finish that with 1.5 tablespoons of kosher salt. We're not gonna add any more salt before roasting, so this is really the seasoning step. So I left the wing tips on. These little tips can burn easily, so what we're gonna do is we're just gonna tuck them right under the breast. I'm gonna transfer this to a rim baking sheet, and this turkey's ready for refrigeration. So 2 to 18 hours uncovered in the refrigerator, just leave it alone. It'll be fine. In that 18 hours, you can then go ahead and make stock to make perfect gravy. So I pulled it out of the fridge and it's rested for 1 hour. Instead of using a metal rack, which a lot of turkey recipes use, we're gonna make a raft out of really aromatic vegetables, which are gonna help flavor the gravy. Now, we're not going for a really nice mirepoix here. We're just gonna chop it up and get it in the pan. I do like peeling my carrots though. I just cut those into 2-inch segments, give or take. Add those to our pan. When you're cutting onion slices, you really want to follow the curve of the onion so they're all the same size. So I start off with my knife almost parallel to the board, and we're aiming for roughly 1/4-inch thick slices, and angle my knife around. Then when I get to the middle point, I'm gonna flip that onion over it. Make sure we have a really nice, safe, secure claw grip on that. We're gonna add a couple of sprigs of fresh rosemary here. It adds really nice depth, piney flavor, works really well with turkey. So I'm just gonna break those up and spread them out. So I'm gonna put our turkey in and spread its legs out in the pan, get it pretty even. To prevent the fat from burning in the pan, we're gonna add 1 cup of water. At this point, we're gonna drizzle it with a little olive oil. It's just about a tablespoon. So I'm just gonna rub that in. It is well oiled, and now we're gonna finish it with just a little bit of pepper. I tend to sprinkle high, leads to more even coating. We've got a 425-degree preheated oven with the rack at the lowest position. You want it on the lowest position possible because if it were any higher, the skin's gonna brown before the meat cooks through. Now the turkey's gonna cook for 2 hours until an instant read thermometer inserted in the thickest part of the thigh comes out at 165 degrees. This turkey looks gorgeous and it smells even better. Of note, You don't pull a turkey out of the oven and carve it right away. It's got to rest for at least 20 minutes before you carve it. Gonna let everything drip back in, and we're gonna put this on our cutting board. So to break the turkey down, I really recommend having 2 knives. One, a sort of short knife, and one, the longest, sharpest knife you have. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use a smaller knife to take the legs off. And this is pretty easy because they sort of wanna fall off at this point. So I'm gonna cut the skin close to the breast and just small motions, and it just pulls right off. You can cut straight down, right through the joint, and you end up with your other drumstick and that beautiful thigh. And at this point, I like to take the wings off. Now the wings are a joint, so you can just cut right through there and loosen it up and sort of hold it and just pry it right out. You can cut straight down through the joint. So we have the pieces of the wing there. Now comes the breast. I'm gonna run that knife right along the spine and cut down. And I'm using small cuts with the tip of that knife. And then I'm gonna start pulling that meat back to open up the space so I can get my knife in without leaving meat on the bone. And there you have the breast off the bone. So now we're gonna slice that. So I'm gonna hold it with my tongs, and then I'm gonna slice using the whole length of the knife, as you can see. And I'm not cutting it too thin. One thing I don't carve up is the legs, because somebody inevitably at the table wants to be Henry VIII and eat the leg like that. So let's just go ahead and put the legs on. And the thigh, remember, has just a bone running down the middle. So you can just cut around that bone. The beautiful dark meat. And let's see, we can put those wings on, tuck them in there, and we're gonna have a beautiful turkey platter with all that beautiful bronzed meat. That's gorgeous. That is really sort of perfect. And I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna grab that. It's perfectly seasoned. The skin is really crisp. We didn't add a ton of herbs or seasonings or different flavorings. So the flavor of the meat stands loud and clear. And it's something I really love about this recipe. We're not futzing with it. We're just leaving well enough alone, roasting it quickly, high and hot, and it is well seasoned because we did dry brine it. So it really is just the perfect turkey to match the Thanksgiving table.